Right. I will check if there's any questions. There is some discussion already ongoing, but I think we shall proceed to our open Q&A session as we are almost right at the time. So again, Honorata, thank you for your speech, and please stay with us for that part of the day. And one technical thing. We would like to encourage you to use some minutes to share with us your feedback about our first day of our very first Aviation Hub Conference. So you shall be receiving an email soon with a feedback request. So please help us to improve and share some words with us. And yeah, so I think that we can proceed now to open Q&A session. Hopefully we have all of our speakers online, or most of them. Could I kindly ask you to make a note if you are there?
Hi.
Oh yeah, there is Mateusz.
Yeah, again.
Sean DJ, are you there also?
Yes, I'm here. I'll put my headset on.
I'm also here.
Perfect. Right. So we have received some questions already in the meantime. So I will of course ask those ones. But I would like to ask first if there is anyone who. If there's any one of you who would like to ask any additional questions, then please just place it in the chat box. But I guess that we can proceed with the first questions, and please feel free. Any one of you who would like to give an answer, please feel free to do so. So the first question that came up in the meantime. What is your opinion? How to direct innovations in comparison to 2019, to year 2019? Does any one of you would like to take this one?
Can you be a bit more specific? Comparisons with what? With anything?
Yeah, sorry, there was no more detail to that question, so this is how it came.
Okay, I mean,
I assume if I actually, Gosha, can you repeat the question? Because I think I know what that person meant, but I need to hear it one more time.
Yeah, how to direct innovations in comparison to year 2019.
Okay, well, I don't know. The way I understand it is that, well, obviously, as we know, 2019 was a little bit more generous to us in every aspect and innovations as well. And right now in 2020, during the pandemic and COVID, it a little bit blocked us. So maybe what would you say would be the new approach for innovations this year and the following year?
Well, from my perspective, if I may, the people that I've been speaking to about this have actually said that both across the airline industry directly and from a supplier perspective, they've actually been busier over the last 6 months, even though things have been non-operational compared to when they were operational, because things have been so depleted and disrupted. Some of the innovations that they've been wanting to do, they've actually been able to accelerate them now, even though some staff have been on furlough, as opposed to dealing with the norm, which is, you know, from an EasyJet perspective, 2,000 sectors per day. So they've actually been able to accelerate some of the ideas and some of the new things and some of the things that they've wanted to do. However, because airlines are hemorrhaging money on a daily and monthly basis, they've not been able to get the approvals through their board to be able to get these things signed off. So I think all the ideas from an innovative perspective, from an airline and a supplier perspective, have all been accelerated. However, to get the approvals at board level has not been obviously granted due to lack of funds. That's how I would answer that, you know, from a broad perspective, because I'm not too sure on the specifics of the question.
Yeah, yeah. So Dirk, from my side, so what I've seen is that, and obviously read about it, is that obviously airlines are going through some tremendous they have a lot of problems with cash, but from what I read, for example, Air Canada stated that they're looking at the systems that they have, right? And looking, for example, what is a hot topic, I think, is the passenger experience. For example, here in Amsterdam, in the airport, they look very closely in improving the passenger experience. So coming from your home, going to the airport, uh, advising you how to get there, where to park. So the whole passenger experience from home till on board of the aircraft. So from from this, I think these things are accelerated, right? I read that, for example, the luggage handling is going to change. That they have. There will be services to pick up the luggage from your house, deliver it to the aircraft, and also when you arrive someplace, the luggage will come from the aircraft and will be delivered to your house at some, with probably some fee. But yes, there's this. Still see this innovation, and maybe even like I said in my presentation, that under this pressure, some really nice things are going to evolve. No idea what it is compared to the previous years, but I really um, I really see the ideas evolving of improvement, and also what I said, I guess during my presentation, or tried to say, is that maybe in aviation we have to let old some places some things that are in place, like telexes from the 50s. Why is it still there? Yeah, and we have to really um, make aviation more accessible and lean. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Another question, how do you see the future of AI and self-flying planes?
Matthias, do you want to take that one?
Well, yeah, I can take that one. So I hope for them not to arrive like soon enough, I guess. No, but to be fair, well, I think people thinking about self-flying cars think mostly about US or West Europe, where the airport infrastructure is sufficient enough, or is wide, and you will be able to implement that. But we have to think first. Right now, airplanes are unable to fly themselves, and we are flying the airplanes that were designed in the 60s and 70s right now. And we received, my company ordered 120 airplanes, new versions of the older airplanes that we're going to receive within next few years, and we're going to fly them for another 20 years. And actually creating an airplane that will be safe enough to fly with the passengers will take another 40 years, I would say 20 to 40 years. But still, you have to take into account that there are other places that people fly, and the airline I fly for mainly connects east with west, and whenever we fly to any eastern airports, there's almost no facilities to even fly an ILS approach, because there's no ILS approach. There's no 3D guidance to the airport, so the airplane wouldn't be able to land itself anyways. So I think it's like the prospect of it is way wider than people think. So it's not only the perspective of the airplanes flying itself, even though they do fly on the autopilot, and the autopilot is way better than any human to maintain correct speed, altitude, and heading for a long period of time, because it's not getting distracted, and it doesn't take our mental capability just to fly straight. So the airplanes do fly sort of themselves, and they can land on very specific restrictions on the airport. But the concept is way wider than anybody will think. And even though if we have self-flying cars and there's any accident, who to blame? Manufacturer, software development team. I
It's
think even from
interesting.
the
Because I spoke to a company, I'll not name them, but I spoke to a company a month or so back now, like an air taxi company who wanted to get this going by about 2025, operating out of a series of heliports and vertiports in between, you know, two major cities, where there would be electric planes and they would have a range of, let's say, I don't know, 200 miles or 300 kilometers, you know, with 4 people on board, 1 pilot, and then reducing to no pilot. And I thought that the year 2025 was very ambitious, especially seeing as we don't actually have cars that drive themselves on a 2-dimensional perspective yet. To actually do that into an air taxi from a 3-dimensional
exactly. Just imagine how long it takes right now for the cars to drive themselves, and they still make mistakes, and all the companies that are claiming that they have self-driving cars, they still have a driver on board just in case.
So I'm sticking up for you in a job here, Matthias.
I guess for a while until my retirement. Then everything can go hell can get loose anyways.
I also have to disappoint you a bit, because there's already prototypes of aircraft flying around on military missions. And they are cargo planes, right? So it's not with passengers, but they are flying around and guided by pilots on the ground.
But still, there are pilots guided on the ground. That's first of all, and they are still one pilot is controlling one airplane.
No, the good thing of I'm sorry, it's your job, but the good thing will be that we get a different announcement during the flight. They will say you are cruising at flight level 350, and in front of the aircraft there's a coffee machine. This is the place where the pilots were sitting in the past, right?
Yeah, and I'm at home drinking my coffee. Yeah, but no, actually, like just to be serious for a while, I see a huge market of those planes in the military zone, as we see now the drones, for example. When I was flying small airplane few weeks ago, I got a call from the controller saying that I should descend because there's a drone flying and it's being controlled by the guy in the US, in California, and any demand on altitude or heading change will take 5 minutes. So it's my decision just to avoid it. And he said, it's heavier than your airplane and there's no one around. I said, okay, there was a drone on a training for NATO. But still, for this sort of information, yeah, sure. But for passenger wise, like globally, it's, well, even if so, I would say that even though people have cars now, people still ride horses for hobby. I'll still fly anyway. So
yeah, I think it will take a while.
Definitely.
It's like 2025. If you say 2025, yeah, for a VTOL aircraft that will take a few people between 2 cities and just go like almost like a cart. I think, yeah, maybe, but globally as an airline, no, not in the next 30 years.
Yeah,
but don't count me on that. Don't count me on that.
I've also seen these really huge drones where you can sit with 4 people on top. And
that's 4 people.
It made me think of some cartoon. It was called The Jetsons. Yes, where you could just fly.
Yeah, and look how long it was. Jetsons were, I don't know how many years ago, and people were still thinking about doing that self-driving, self-flying things for a small amount of people. Still not here.
Right, thank you guys. Another question is how to manage the digital revolution when the aviation market is unstable and quite far from stability.
Can you repeat the first part of the question, please? Because I just got lost reading the questions here.
Yeah, sorry. How to manage the digital revolution when the aviation market is unstable and quite far from stability?
So this is Shimon speaking. Maybe I'll try to answer for that question. So what we observe right now, or our customers, they care about their cash flow. So they want to have a healthy business, as healthy as they can have in such conditions, which is not easy because let's say every day brings something new, and each country introduces their own regulations, which makes everything even harder. So I think for sure they will cut some investments for enhancements and new functionalities, and they'll be focusing on keeping the fleet and current structure of their business as much as they can. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add to that as well. I think it's important that all our collective sort of customers can see that even so the market is, as the person that's asked the question, is unstable at the moment. I think it's important for them to see that we are still trying to improve on the products that we've got. Now, I know you might have a different debate with regards to how much internal investment can you put in to improve those products, but I think it's important that we don't all sort of stand still while the market is unstable at the moment, because the eternal optimist that I am, I still think that it will get better, and we will, recover from this. So I think it's important from the vendors and the suppliers perspective that we have not sort of stood still with making the improvements on our products that we want to make improvements to, and we use this time, as an advantage to actually get those things done and be ready when the market becomes more stable. And it's important to share that with the likes of yourself, Matthias, a pilot. I think I've actually just I'm in consultation with some of your management at the minute, because we're on a short list.
Yeah, it is very possible. Yeah.
So I've got a call with them, I think the beginning of next month, so they can see some of the changes that we've done since I was in Budapest last January, just before was the outbreak of this pandemic was breaking out. So it's important that all our customers, no matter who they are, can see that we are trying to make improvements and change what we want to change while the market is unstable at the minute, and not just stand still.
I will say from the perspective of as a perspective from the airline, I think the airlines being in very unstable position right now, and in be very, very, very watching the penny from both sides, as they call it. They will require more efficient solutions. So they were actually in this unstable times require less waste on the work and more efficient product. So actually they will require all the airline operators or any companies just giving them any documentations or data or anything, even more efficient solutions.
Correct. So it's something what Dirk mentioned, and I think I mentioned it in my presentation as well. Airlines still spend a lot of money on pieces of paper on the ground going from one place to another. And if you times that by 1,500 sectors per day or 2,000 sectors per day, depending on your operation, or even only 60 sectors per day, that's still a lot of money for a lot of savings to be made. So I think you're right. I think a lot of airlines will actually look at how they can make big savings now quicker, rather than introducing, let's say, the nice to haves that maybe pilots and cabin crew and engineers have been asking for. I think they'll start to prioritize the bigger savings quicker, as they've been able to analyze those savings now based on the losses that they've made and we all suffer from.
Yeah, well, that's what I think so as well.
Yeah, I agree, Sean, but there's still obviously airlines will have less appetite in investing in IT. On the other hand, there's airlines with huge amount of people in IT that I expect the airlines will lose, and it will also give opportunities to support those airlines. And on the other hand, like what you said, for example, Matthäus, you mentioned the CPDLC as communication between you and ATC. So we in Smart have a communication and alerting system which is able or would allow you to communicate with all the departments in the airline, during the ground handling, with the people around your aircraft. So if somebody sees a damage on your tail, or I mean, there's this data communication is available, and delivering the load sheet in the cockpit, or even during a taxi out. In aviation, it's all about reducing the minutes of delay. So you do not want any delay, because a minute of delay will cost you somewhere between $25 and $100, right? So mitigating this risk, and mitigating the risk of burning fuel by data communication, and like Sean said, the delivery of documentation to the aircraft. Some airlines would pay somewhere between $50 and $100 per flight for delivering something that can be delivered electronically nowadays on these devices that they have on board. So I would suppose, if you have this business case of saving really millions, then still the airlines would take this forward.
Yeah, because people even right now, the companies, they start to realize that the savings are the small ones. It's not the big chunk of money. It's like all the small problems, all the small puzzles that just make up for all the cost of flying and operating an airline or any company, like actually.
But it's the law of the small figures, right? So if you have 200 aircraft and you have 3 sectors per day, it's 600 flights times 300 days per year is a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought that I am muted again. Right, I would like to refer to Jakub now. There has been 2 questions asked before. Maybe Szymon can help also. Do you have to comply with the specific aeronautical standards for developing the software in use at EFB?
Okay, so when it comes to software, I'm not able to give a full answer. So I have sent an email to a person who may have a knowledge of the subject, but I'm still waiting for the answer. So maybe tomorrow I will get. But maybe Sean can tell you more about it. And when it comes to get the test themselves, we have to meet a few requirements. I mean about the testing compliance. So that would be, interference testing, electrical power source, or the compression and others. But maybe Sean, you will tell us something more about aeronautical standard when we want to develop the software in AFB.
No. I mean, from an EFB software perspective, no. The only standards that we have to work to when it comes to EFB software standard is the standard that we get given by Apple and Microsoft. And you do that based on a series of HMI testing. So you guys, both Jakub and Matthias, are pilots. It's no point in delivering you a product that is unreadable for you on a screen when you've only got so much real estate to be able to view it. You've also got to have buttons and colors in certain places to be able to hit them in a smoke-filled cockpit or in a bouncy cockpit. We adhere to those sorts of standards, yes. And then, of course, from a technical aircraft standard as well, we also adhere to, IRINC 633-2 standard when it comes to, converting it into aircraft language in inverted commas. So there are standards, but there is no actual real software standard other than HMI standards that we adhere to.
Right, and maybe
the answer.
Yeah, maybe just to follow up, Szymon speaking, just to follow up, we can also say that EFB consists of many components that are separately certified, but EFB as such is like an integral part of everything that has been actually certified separately. And regarding software, exactly, Sean, like you said.
Does that answer the question more or less?
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully the person is still with us. So if not, that they can review the answers after the recording is done.
And they can come back
Thank
to us.
you.
Yeah, there's no problem.
Yeah, always. Right, and Kuba, one more question. I don't know if Tom is still with us. I think it was his question.
Yeah.
It's about if Japan offer trainings.
Yeah. Okay. So I tried to get clear information to answer, but unfortunately, I didn't get any confirmation referring about jobs and training. However, I can send him, okay, maybe tomorrow, a Jeppesen website where he will find, documents connect with our products. So he will find on them, for example, information about, last release and user guide. But in my opinion, probably exists chance to get this kind of training, from Jeppesen. I don't know, for example, certification program. And for example, also I talked with one of the pilots from LOT, Polish Airlines, last week, because this airlines has decided to change paper charts to digital, and that was approximately 1 year ago. And pilots in the airlines use Flydeck Pro, and what I've heard during this certification, they had training, but provided not from Jeppesen, but from people from LOT. So yeah, so about Jeppesen, just from my side. About ForeFlight, it's more easy to find information on the official website. Yeah, because they include a lot of news about features, and also exists option to get this training, to get certification with some companies, and this is common in USA. And I know that because it's easy to find a website also with this one of this company. Yeah.
May I just, as for a ForeFlight customer, whenever there's any new feature in ForeFlight, there is an email sent to the customers with a video explaining the new feature. So, and there is also ForeFlight training or something like that you can sign in and you can ask questions online. So as a customer, you receive those emails with every new function explained in a video by the guy from the ForeFlight.
I confirm that. Yeah, I get also these emails, and what is also good from ForeFlight that they make and put a lot of videos on the YouTube channels with webinars, and also last time I saw a video from Jeppesen about nav data. So yeah, very good. I would say, I don't know, supporting of customer. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And that gets extended as well, just to from a non-shorting provider like ourselves as well. So anything new, you will get recurrent training depending on across all departments, whether it be cabin crew, whether it be ops control, flight dispatch, or pilots. And from a new customer perspective, you get like a train the trainer on-site course as well. So yeah, it's recurrent training and initial training, or the other way around.
Okay, right. I think we have it all. So I think I will send my voice to Paulina.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Gosia. Guys, maybe you have any questions to each other, or maybe you have any comments at the end?
I have one question to Mateusz because I'm curious. Okay, so
Very
I
well.
know that you are also active flight instructor, yeah, in Roku Gdański. So yeah, so regarding to my question, which I got during my Q&A session, what is your opinion about using EFB during pilot training?
Okay, that's actually a very good question. And me and all the guys in the Aero Club, and actually the people I know that are instructors and are teaching people, we are always trying. Like for example, in the Aero Club, I'm instructing. The students are using paper charts. They're not using EFBs, and we encourage them to use paper to actually make them to make the calculations, draw the route on the charts, etc. Mainly because that's still part of theoretical exams on every level, PPL, CPL, and ATPL. You still have to have knowledge.
Ale ziemniaczka należy zaczekaj, tak?
And the best way to be able to do it on the theoretical exams is to have some practical knowledge and practical approach to that. We still also say that it will help them in case of your electronical chart failure, if you have a paper backup. But if you don't have it, you're in the same problem. So actually, that's a very good question that I'm thinking to myself. I always, like my students, there's even one here listening, ex-student. He has a pilot's license now. When I was flying in the precision flying team, we were flying only on the charts. You aren't even not able to have GPS on board other than locator. It is a knowledge, but if it's outdated slightly, and it's becoming more and more with dense airspace restrictions right now, airspace regulations, as well as very rapidly changing weather, airspace is closed by NOTAMs, airports closed by NOTAMs. So having EFB or like ForeFlight or others on board will enhance the safety and the awareness. It's a tough one. It's a tough one just to get, because for pilots with a license, I cannot see any reason why not to. For students, just to have a little bit of practical knowledge to be able to easier pass the theoretical exams, I guess.
Okay, thanks for that. We think almost the same, so the same vector of thinking. So thanks again for this question.
But isn't it a lot of fun to fly VFR and be able to navigate on what is outside?
Yeah, it's even better if you fly very low and then you, or for example, I can say I was on one of the competitions of navigation. We didn't have GPS. Your phone has to be sealed, and with a seal, and you have to show after flight that it's not broken. So you didn't use any electronic devices, and I got lost at one of my first competitions. So I was flying low over train station just to read the name of the city. Where am I? I found it, and I found the way back to the airport. And it was actually fantastic experience after a while. But then it was sketchy. But that's the way you learn anyway. But still, for now, for any trainee pilots or students, I guess it's very good to have this basic knowledge and then use the electronic backup. But still, you can use paper with electronic as backup.
Yeah, I think the experience to do it for the training without this equipment. I remember when I was also years ago in some aero club, and I was working there actually, and one of the guys came in. He had to do his exam, his prof check, and I guess he was flying a Cessna with long range tanks, and he had to make a load sheet before flight, and he wasn't able to do it. Just he couldn't make a manual. He couldn't make a simple manual load sheet because he just did it on his Excel or whatever, and he wasn't able to do it. So yeah, I think when you have the basics right, then I guess it would be good to switch to something more sophisticated. But
that is true. But then yet again, how many times you have to make a manual load sheet if you are able to make a electronical one? And that's all the argument that like the whole aviation world is having now. Because I say, okay, you should have this knowledge, but if you can do it this way and it's safe enough and it's proficient, and there's no odds against that. That's a debate for like another few, I would call it even beers at the evening, because that's a long one.
Yeah, needs and musts.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Matthias, about connectivity? It's funny, you get some pilots in a room and you ask this question and you get 50 different answers, you know, so like you would expect.
Yeah.
But do you think the short band connectivity that's available now is enough for the information that you need in flight? Or would you like it to be extended to the broadband, you know, SBS, you know, where you can get a range of, you know, weather layers, you know, graphical updates in flight, you know, for enhanced situational awareness? Or
I guess it's a very similar question, like from the basics, what is about if should you use paper charts if you have electronic ones, because we got used to the amount of information that we received that we receive, and we fly on the same amount of information that we used to have. Of course, like there is also something which is too much information, because then you're being overloaded with data uploads of the wind. We can, for example, on our airplanes, on the newer ones, we can ask for data link uplift for a wind and route on different levels, and then the airplane calculates the good flight level, the optimal flight level. We can make the clearance via data link, take the 80s, the digital one, but those are additional things that we are not used to. And sometimes, even though it is easier for people, like I see guys flying 10, 15 years, and they got used to the amount of information they receive, that everything above that, which makes it easier, make it harder for them. So I think it's like personal preference for most of them, and it will take years, as everything in aviation. Like you cannot change aviation world in one day, like you cannot change many things.
Okay.
I was wondering, Mateusz, are you also carrying some small book where you put your experience in?
No. Should I? There was one guy, like I think it was called Jepson, was it? No, I don't.
Well, it was for me. I worked at about 25 years in Martinair and KLM, and it was quite common that some pilots were carrying some little notebook with their experience to certain airports, and it was quite funny for me, especially one time when a pilot was walking around with a red hat and steam coming from his ears because he lost his notebook.
So we have quite similar thing. We call it operational manual C of the airport's briefings. So whenever anyone en route finds something very specific to a specific airport, we send it to the training department and they put it on a manual. So you have a list on EFB of every airport regarding the chart and everything. There is a special folder for every airport that we fly with specifics of this airport. So for example, the VHF radio cuts at this radius, or you may expect wind shear with the winds of about this, or you may expect severe turbulence. So it's like from the pilot's perspective and experience, information put as a operational manual, because that's how it's written, even in that we are not allowed to use any data which is not certified by airline and which is in operation manual. But people can still have impact for that. So that's our logbook, or our little book with notes, but we made it available to everybody just because we don't fly in the same routes. Sometimes you visit one airport every 3 months and you're somewhere else, and then you go back and then there's something new.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have this book, but we call it OMC.
We used to have something similar. You used to have a brief for category B and category C airports, and I think that
and we have it on every airport that we fly to.
And you have it on, for category A there was no brief, but for Cat B and C that there was, and that was part of the OMC as well.
Yeah, and we fly to few airports with no ATC even. There's no traffic control, there's traffic information. They don't even clear you to land because they are not allowed to. They say that the runway is free, but there are like major things about it. So that's our book, but it is us. Oh, and if you find anything new, you just write to the guys in the training department. They just put it back.
It's called an iPad now, DJ, I think, isn't it? Not a book.
Well, not yet, but we use another device yet. We were about to switch a few times as I'm in the company for 4 years, and we are just changing it every year. Maybe this year it will happen.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
It's a long process. You cannot change anything in aviation in one day. Again.
Okay, thank you, guys. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have one question for Honorata, because she said that the crisis or the way things are going now are negative on women employment and so on. But I mean, working from home should then be easing.
I'm sorry, DJ. Sorry for interrupting, but Honorata must have left.
I'm back. I'm back.
Sorry.
My boss didn't dial into the call, so I'm back.
Sorry,
Thank
Honorata.
you. No worries. I'll be here 7 minutes. Yeah, go on, DJ. Thank you.
Yeah. So I said there's lots of opportunities for women. I'm a bit sorry that you disqualify your colleagues in the cabin or the cabin crew, because it's also very, I would say, very interesting and a job as part of the safety and the team on board of the aircraft. One aspect that we have here in Holland is that our government put in a law in place that at least 30% of management of the bigger companies should be women. So there's also some progress here, and I guess I also put in your chat that the Wright brothers couldn't fly without their sister. So the credit they also credited her for what she did there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I found it very interesting what you were saying there, and yeah, there's a long list of women that made a career in aviation, and one of the or two of the women I would like to mention is Harpreet Singh. She's a VP of operations in Air India, and a very special person, and also somebody that has really doing an amazing job there. It's unbelievable how she managed to work in this now the environment where she is. And looking at the airlines you work with, I guess she's the seat of the IFALDA, so the International Airline Dispatchers Organization. It's also a bit of my background, and her name is Sevda Tantan, and she is coming from Turkish Airlines. So she's the dispatch manager there. I guess you should know her.
Yeah, so to be quite honest, I have not heard about those two ladies, but I will definitely look it up. I'm very, positively surprised that you are mentioning more of such examples, which only proves the point that I think women are present in aviation. It's just that you have to particularly focus probably to come up with such examples. But to your point, I don't think I meant to somehow neglect the cabin crew that's working very hard. I was just trying to run away from the cliche of sort of first thing that comes to people's mind when they're thinking about women in aviation. But I appreciate what you said. And when it comes to those rules, I had no awareness that there is such a rule existing in Netherlands, about 30%. I know that obviously in various sectors, especially in Scandinavia and Sweden and Norway specifically, there is an objective to have more like 50%, like a parity of women, right? And for example, leadership roles. So I think that my intention would be to never have such a presentation, because it would be obvious that the split would be more balanced. But I would say that I was reading a big paper on this sort of rule of having a certain percentage of women in certain roles. And personally, I do not support it. I think that it's more beneficial if we focus on the aspects I was mentioning on education and removing barriers to entry to a specific industry, instead of like making a special rule when we don't even know if we would have the right expertise to fill in those roles, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm nicely sort of touched here by all the points you made. I support them, and my takeaway is to look up for those special ladies you mentioned, and maybe invite them for the next conference. That would be my takeaway. So thank you
I
for the
just have
insight.
one thing to add, that the company I fly for, they have a goal. I don't know how it will end up anyway with the COVID situation right now, but by 2027 they would like to have 1,000 pilots in the company, women pilots.
Right.
And that's their goal. Now they're right, I think below 100, but they would like to have 1,000. So yeah, they're also trying to force that away, that it's not cabin crew only. But I'll fly with few women captains, and so always good fun.
Again, last from my side, I'm not sure I haven't made the calculation in terms of percentages, but in Smart for Aviation, I'm also very proud of all the women that are working for us in whatever job they do there. Yeah, so we've got a really a group of really great women working in my company, and yeah, so it's yeah, a great team both in Krakow and in Gdansk there.
Thank you for sharing. I think it's another good case that we might showcase. I think that building such awareness and showing that there are actually companies and units where, you know, such balanced talent exists is also important for building that awareness. So super important point. Thank you for sharing that.
All right, guys. If there is any questions left, let's say we have the last one. But I guess I don't hear any questions anymore. So I suppose that brings this meeting to a close. I hope you will agree with me that it has been a very fruitful and day full of valuable knowledge. So on behalf of the whole team, I would like to say thank you to our speakers for their presentations, and of course to our partners for making this event happen. Also, I would like to thank all of you for your participation and all the questions. We would love to ask you for your feedback. I think you can find somewhere in the chat box the link to Google Forms where you can share your feedback with us. If you cannot find it, then we will make sure you will receive it via email by tonight. And of course, we are not done yet. There's one more day to go. Tomorrow we will also have, I guess, 6 presentations, but this time we will take a closer look at the airports. So we hope you will join us tomorrow with some more questions. And right now, I really would like to thank you again, and I wish you a great afternoon and see you tomorrow.